to my craft room. We're in a different spot. We are on the floor in front of my yarn shelf. This is going to be a video a little bit about my stash, a lot bit about organizing myself because I've spent the last many years in total and absolute chaos. So one of the things that two of the big goals that I have are logging all of my stash that I have right now. I started using an app called Knit and Note. I'll try to put a screenshot of like the front of the app here. We'll see what happens. And it was recommended to me by a friend. It is a free app. There are paid like subscription options to help support the process that they're going through in terms of like creating this app and making adjustments to this app when necessary. But you're able to log your stash in there with your ounces, grams, yardage, all of that, along with pictures. And then you can actually also upload patterns. There's a community aspect to it where people can post their projects they're working on. It'll actually add up how much stash you're using and give you in your desired measurement increment. Increment's not the word I'm looking for. Measurement scale, I think is what I want. It will give you in your measurement scale of choice how much you've used, which is cool. So you can look at how many yards or how many grams, or if you look at ounces, whatever. So that's something that we're going to be working on, is stashing or logging all of my stash so that I can easily have it on the app in hand. A lot of us who are knitters and crocheters use Ravelry, and Ravelry has a stash function, but I don't like it. I don't like having to take pictures in advance and then send them to my laptop and then get on the website or use the website. Like, I don't love the mobile website. And this is just an all-encompassing app. I have an iPhone, and in the Apple Store version of the app, you can just take pictures through the app automatically. It gives you functionality to your camera. I've heard from friends who have Android phones or Google phones that it doesn't work the same way. Like, you still have to pre-take your pictures. But I've heard that they're also constantly changing the app and updating it to be more functional. So we'll be doing that. So I'll show you, I think I'm going to highlight like some of my favorite stash things, go through some stuff that I think I might be getting rid of, talk about some of the yarns that I have that I love, that I have project ideas for. But I really am in an organizing mode and a work through my stash mode phase right now in my life. The other thing that we are going to be working on is this bucket of madness. So this is one of the big cubes full of scraps from the last 7-8 years. There are yarns in here that I bought when I first started buying indie yarn like 6 or 7 years ago. What I'm doing is before I tell you what I'm doing, here's why we're going through this. So we have balls of yarn. Like, this is fine. We have yarn that I had caked up that I used part of and then just tossed in here. And because this has been in here for so long and has moved from apartment to apartment to my house, to different organizations in my house, like, it's moved so much. This is in the center of this bin of yarn. This is connected to a bunch of balls and cakes of yarn that are in this bin. And I can't deal anymore. So we are slowly pulling out all of the cakes, all of the balls of yarn, and winding them into little skeins with my Katrinkle's 1 yard knitty knotty. I don't know if you can see this on camera. Do you see that nice curve there? As you can tell, I have been putting this thing through the wringer. We currently have all of these wound up. I did all this yesterday. So this is going to go pretty fast. And so anything that, I don't know, is like this size or smaller, so I'm not weighing these yet. Anything that's around this size or smaller, I am turning into a little skein of yarn. So, I mean, as you can see, I'm going to grab a couple to kind of show you what we're dealing with here. So, I mean, we have, like, these alone, these are 3 different sizes. because these are 3 different amounts of yarn. This was just so we're going from like working with a bunch of yarn to like little bits. Things, there are some, actually this might even be one of them, some of them that are like half a skein almost. Maybe not this one, but I'm going to grab this other one that I tossed up here. So like this is probably at least 50 grams, if not 60 of yarn. And so this one I'm actually going to cake up on my ball winder and make a mini cake out of. Everything else though is being wound up into mini skeins. But some of the stuff, I mean, this was one of my very first indie dyed yarns, and it's not showing up super well on camera. This is the perks of filming with your phone. I'll try to upload a little bit of footage. Oh, hi, Oliver. A little bit of footage of this separately, but this was a very old Legacy Fiber Arts colorway. It was one of my first indie skeins that I ever bought. I think it was themed from the Elf movie. As you can hear, Oliver is being chased by a dog. It was one of my very first indie yarn. Oh, hello. Say hello to your friends. Oh my goodness. Hi. Say hi. Hi, hi, hi. Can I help you? This is not for dogs. Oh, close up, everyone. Close up. Okay, leave, please. Goodbye. Thank you. This was, I think, based off of the Elf movie. If I remember correctly, this was called Cotton-Headed Ninny Muggins. And it's on sparkle yarn, and it was one of my first that I ever bought for myself to make socks out of. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so my first indie dyed yarns, I mean, there's also stuff that's just special. Like this was a specialty colorway by Beachy Breeze Fibers from when I had her dye up yarn for my best friend's bridal shower. This mini is from my trip to Rhinebeck, with my first ever trip to Rhinebeck with my friend Beth. So there's just a lot in here, even just as I'm starting out, that just hold so many memories, and I love them so much. So I'm excited to like go down memory lane with some of these, and then figure out what to do with them. I think what I'll do is get them all into skeins and then weigh them and then sort them out. And I think I'll probably sort them like 10 grams and less, anything between 10 to 20 grams, and then anything bigger than that, and then figure out what to do with them after the fact. But this is the first big step, is getting all of these skeined up and tackling whatever this beautiful rat's nest is. I'm afraid to see if there's another one in the bottom, because I actually don't even know what's in the bottom of this container. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's kind of a mess. So stay tuned. We will talk more about what I find, and I'll make sure that you guys see like all of my fun, pretty cute finished mini skeins. So let's talk about yarn stash. Okay, we are back on the floor, and it is done. I wound up all but like 8 to 10 bundles of scraps. All of them got wound into minis. The 8 to 10 that I did not wind into minis are a combination of a couple that were like weird, like acrylic box store, like little balls of yarn that I don't know why I saved them, so I ended up just getting rid of those. And a handful of skeins that are in the bin that you're leaning on, that are right about 50 grams, and so I'm going to just cake those up into regular cakes and be able to use them that way. I have not organized these yet. That is kind of my plan over the next couple weeks. I'm finding that like recording this and talking about it is making me super motivated to do things, so that's been fun. I found just like a lot of scraps that I'm really excited to play with. I've been wanting to make maybe a scrappy project. Stephen West came out with like a modular shawl recently where you do stripes and they're triangles and you pick up stitches. I don't remember what it's called. I might put a note if I can even find it or take the time to find it, but I don't remember what it's called right now. But basically, just the idea of grouping together some of these scraps seems like so much fun. Like I have so many things that live in the same color family, and they could be so much fun to put in the same blanket. And then even like, oh, this one, like there's a lot. And then even branching out to ones that are kind of tangential, like this blue one could look fun. It's got speckles that would coordinate. So my next endeavor, I think, is to dump these. I hope you couldn't hear my dog just like hacking up whatever was stuck in his throat. That was real gross. My door's closed, so I hope you didn't hear it. My next endeavor is twofold when it comes to this beautiful, beautiful bin of scrappy skeins. Oh, this is a lavender pouch. When it comes to this beautiful bin of scrappy skeins. First, I'm going to basically dump them on the floor and sort them by weight. I mean, so this one, for example, is yak sock yarn from Knits for Comfort. It might have been called Fire, if I remember correctly. It's got these gorgeous like gray undertones that come through. This is a thick mini, whereas this one is itty bitty. So step one is to sort by size. I might weigh them and come up with categories like I talked about earlier in the video. And then after they're kind of sorted by size and I get a gauge of what I have and what colors, I think I'm then gonna pull from those areas to see if I can pull some things together. I'm also going to make basically size categorized buckets of stuff that I don't care about and I will never use. Like this guy, he's pretty enough. It's like mauve, and this color is like mauve and blue. I think it's just like a box store. Maybe it's Patton's Croy sock yarn. It's soft enough. It's fine, but it's colors that I'm not going to use in anything. So like this one will go away, but it will go into a bundle of stuff that's similarly sized. And I have a few of those. I got a bunch of yarn from my mom too. So like I think these ones are the same idea. They're very small. They look almost hand spun, but they're not. They might be Patton's Croy colors I won't use. Or there's some that I knit before. Like this one is a really nice green and purple and like light colors. I loved the socks I knit out of these. I probably won't knit this again. So those kinds of things. I will get into bundles. I realized I really like self-striping yarns. And so it's just making me wonder if there's a fun thing I could do with all of those. Like seriously, the more I look, the more self-striping yarns I'm finding in different sets of colors. So that's something else that I kind of want to think about too. Like for self-striping scraps, is there something cool that I could do with all of those? Here's another one. Here's another one. That would make it, its own special thing. So I also need to kind of consider that. Maybe do some pattern hunting. Maybe self-striping yarns would be good for like a blanket, because I still have a handful in this bin. And I'm sure I'm going to continue buying them because I love them. And I don't know how to dye them. That's the other thing. So we'll see. I might dump these and kind of show you guys a spread of what I've got. But the knit and note stuff hasn't happened yet because I got really sucked into winding all of these. So I'm going to continue just stashing as we go. I got to tie this back up before this lavender falls out everywhere. Yeah, so here's kind of a peek into what I have for all of these minis that I wound. They won't be organized in any way, but here's what we've got. I mean, normally I feel like I don't have a good memory when it comes to my yarn scraps, but then doing this, it just jogs so many memories. Like this Knits for Comfort skein. I have so much Felici. It's unbelievable. This was a gifted skein. I have things rolling away. This was also one of my first Legacy Fiber Art skeins. This is Jack Skellington, also on their sparkle base. I also realized doing this that I love sparkle yarn so much. I mean, there are some that are just like these deep colors. So pretty. This is Glazed Pecan by Malabrigo. This is a Lord of the Rings colorway, I think. I mean, it just, this whole process, this was a vintage Christmas colorway. This whole process brings me so much joy, and it's so fun just remembering the things that I've knit. This was gifted to me. It's called Hassel in the Castle. It's Scooby-Doo inspired. Goes with that bag that I use for my spinning fiber now. But yeah, I don't know. This was the Rhinebeck colorway special from Jillian Kittles from when I went for the first time. I think this was also another Knits for Comfort colorway. If you can tell I have dyers I really love, then I just buy their yarn repeatedly. But yeah, so here's just a good look at what we've got. And it makes my heart so happy. So I actually think, my Dr. Balloons from when I defended my dissertation, and my coworkers threw me like a defense party. So I actually think one of the nice things about wanting to use Knit and Note is I can sort through a lot of this stash. I definitely have some things that, like, I'm not feeling anymore and I need to figure out what to do with, like whether I'm gonna do a de-stash or just donate them or like toss them up maybe on my Instagram for free, or maybe just pay shipping. I need to figure something out, but there's stuff that I definitely want to get rid of. But just as a quick overview, this bin here, it's dark. There's a lot of dark yarns in here. This bin is mostly multiples that are not fingering weight, or things that are meant to be multi-skein and multicolor projects. So like in here I have, this is one of the first skeins I ever dyed, and I have like I think 2 or 3 of these, and I have 3 of those, and I have 2 of these, which I also dyed in one of those first batches, and I want to turn these together. Oh, I love this so much. Turn these together into a, it's a shawl by Andrea Mowry. It's got garter stitch and brioche, and like those, I love those textures so much. But yeah, so like I know, so this is like this you can't see, but the needles are, you can kind of see it. The needles are in it. This is, what yarn is this? This is the yarn that I frogged that I'm turning into, oh, yarn falling, turning into, the Rosetta sweater that I actually have right here. That's all the fisherman's rib. So in this bin right here is all of my hand dyed, that I kind of want to make a video, kind of showing you guys everything that I have. This is all of my hand dyed, and then some spinning scraps. When I spin yarn and I've plied everything, so I typically make 2-ply yarn. When I ply it all together and I have leftover, I just like put it on a toilet paper roll, and then I hoard it because I don't know what else to do with it. And then this bin here, this is all or mostly indie dyed sock weight, that will mostly become socks, but some other things. Like these 2 skeins are Legacy Fiber Arts, and these I bought on like a mystery sale. I think there was some sort of sale. I bought them, and I want to make them into a brioche cowl, I'm pretty sure. But most of this is indie dyed, or it's just sock yarn in general. So like this is, what yarn is this? Oh, this is Cloudborne Fibers. They're no longer in production, but this is a sock yarn that has, it's gray. Oh, where's my camera? There it is. But it's got these cute speckles of lime green and bright purple. So, I mean, this is supposed to be sock, so it's in this sock bin. This mess is fingering weight, mostly sock fibers. So they're like mostly merino and nylon blends that are meant to become socks, or they were socks, or they were parts of projects and I don't know what to do with them. So like this is from Knits for Comfort. I knit her a bunch of swatches, but like this is enough to maybe make a short pair of socks or like have it be part of a project. This skein I think is also Legacy Fiber Arts. I knit one sock and I don't like the texture, but I don't know where the sock went. So I'm not going to finish the second sock, but I have like 3/4 of a skein here. So that's kind of what that is. This bin down here is my, actually I'm going to try putting you guys up here on my chair and see how this works. Yes, okay. So this bin here is my sock bin that is not indie yarn and also not like hanks. These are all mostly like balls of yarn that are usable. So I have like a lot of like Knit Picks Felici in here. I have Signature. These are Christmas socks. That's sparkle yarn. I also have many skeins of this, which is wool-like from Loops and Threads. I have enough, I think, to make a sweater. I just don't know what I want, but I can make a sweater out of this. And then down here is usually where my, like this bottom bin is usually where my scraps go. Currently it's holding a bunch of cakes that are a Tunisian crochet project, which is up on my desk. I'm not going to get it right now. And then this bin here, this is funny, just swivel you. This bin here is a random pile of nonsense. So some of it is hand spun. So like these ones, I made these. These are things I spun. It also has hand spun. This is a skein that Gabby spun. It's very soft. So it also has some cotton that I was gifted, which is rainbow cotton. It has this leftover mess that was from a sweater I knit, and then I had a bunch of leftover, but I think the dog got this one. So this one definitely needs sorted through. And then down here at the end, these two bins are mostly box store yarns, or like acrylic blends that I bought from a yarn store. Like these ones down here, these are Barocco. So they're not like big box store. I bought them from my local yarn store, which is Skein Yarn Shop. But they're not like indie dyed. I don't actually know what the delineation is between not indie dyed, but I didn't buy it at Michael's or Joann's. But that's what these are. This yarn I'm actually really excited about. The color might not show up. Oh, that's actually fairly accurate. It's like a dark teal. This is Lion Brand Respun. It's recycled polyester. I'm going to turn this into a Harlow V-neck by Ozetta. And then I've realized I have some random stuff in here. Like, I have 2 skeins of this pink Ultra Alpaca Fine and 2 skeins of this purple. I was going to knit a half and half wrap at one point, and the pattern drove me crazy, so I literally just ripped it off my needles. I'm pretty sure, wait, that ball I showed you might have been the shawl. I just unwound that. But I'm like, those ones, I know I'm getting rid of those 4 skeins of yarn. I don't like how it knits up. I don't like the texture of it. So I'm going to get rid of that. But so this process, like the logging process, I think is 1, going to make me stress about how much stash I have. But 2, I think it's going to make me work through what I've got and really come up with ideas. Because the nice thing is you can also, in Knit and Note, you can also take your PDFs that you've paid for and load them into Knit and Know, and I don't know, but I wonder if it's going to tell you like, oh, you have enough stash to knit this pattern or something. I have to look and find out. I'm not really sure. What I don't know how I'm going to log are these. I joked about this on a knit night recently. We were all talking about, we're talking about something. Someone was trying to figure out a colorway for a yarn. And I mentioned that I don't, like if I start a project, I don't start a Ravelry project page. I just don't do that. And then when I start a project, I always basically, for the most part, tell myself that I'm going to remember what yarn I'm using. I'm totally going to remember the colorway. I'm going to remember the dyer. Like I've got it under control. I'm going to remember all those things. No. Like this one here. This is, I think this is Lamstring Studio, I think is their name. I think I bought this. If this is Lamstring Studio or Lamstring Fiber, I actually don't know. Lamstring Studio. If it is, I bought this at Rhinebeck. Do I know the color? No. Did I throw away the tag? Because I was like, I'm going to know this color. Absolutely. So there are a lot of like this blue. Like I have no idea where this came from. Oof. And I'm going to throw it. It's gone now. It's all the way on the other side of my floor. Okay. I'm going to just get that. 2 seconds. Okay. This could be indie dyed. This could also be Knit Picks. I buy a lot of like sock yarn off of Knit Picks because I really like their Stroll base. Their Hawthorne base isn't bad, but it's not nearly as soft. Their Hawthorne base is, I think, a 2-ply and has like a decently, like it has a nice spin to it. And so I like their Hawthorne, but I like their Stroll. So this could be Stroll, but I'm not even sure. Or like this. I don't know what this is. I don't know where this came from. It's very pretty. It's teal. It is not like soft. I mean, I could take some guesses. Like this yarn feels like yarn I just caked up from a scrap. I wonder if it's on the top of this bin. Because I did this one last night. It is not, and I really don't want to dig for it. But there was a skein or a scrap that I skeined up, and this yarn feels the same as that one. So like it could be Harbor Fibers, because I know that the mini for sure is Harbor Fibers. So this could also be from Dana of Harbor Fibers, but like I'm not entirely sure. What's difficult now that I dye yarn and I sort of have a little bit more info about how that works. I mean, a lot of dyers get their skeins from the same like handful of places. So it could feel like Dana's yarn. It might not be Dana's yarn. So I could take some guesses. So stashing that in the app is going to be interesting. I might just, like, I'll label what I can for the skeins that I know. Everything else might just be a picture and a weight, so then I can at least understand how many grams or what my yardage is for some of these scraps. Actually, I'm getting some ideas about some scrappy projects just based off of the scraps I've been winding over the last couple days, which then I might be able to take some of those scraps and pair them with some of these that are already caked and get this stuff worked out of my stash. I also have in my closet, which we're not going to go in, it's there. I have a stash of fiber for spinning. It's not huge, so I'm not, like, none of that is going to go anywhere. I'm not getting rid of any of that. And I'm probably not going to stash that in here either. Like, I'm just going to stash my yarn right now. Because I don't think there's a good functionality for it. And I just know that that's all going to turn into spinning. That's another thing I don't know if I'm going to stash. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could just label these as hand spun. And just with the weight, because like this one, I don't know what gauge technically you would say this is. I'm a novice spinner. I basically spin stuff on my wheel, apply it together, set it, and then I don't knit with it. Like this one I've had for a while. This one I've had since I first started spinning. This one I've also had for a while. The colors of this aren't popping up super well. But like this one is so like varied in its weight. I'm not sure what you would actually label this as. But maybe I'll just put in the grams and like what some of the thickest parts are into the app. We'll see what happens. I'm going to save my hand spun kind of for last for logging. I think what I'll probably do is start with the easiest bins. So like this bin here that has all of my indie dyed, that's all tagged. The bin up top that has like the sweater and shawl quantities of things that are all tagged. This bin that is also all tagged. I'll start with that stuff. Get all that logged, see where I stand, and then start logging the stuff that isn't tagged, and I just have cakes of various weights without tags on them. This is going to be a process, but I think it'll be really good in terms of a couple things. One, I can just get an inventory of what I have. Two, I think it will motivate me to be better about working through the yarn that I do have and really evaluating how much I still want the yarns that I have, how much I want to knit with the yarns that I have, and whether or not they might be better loved, like better loved in a different home. Because yeah, I enjoy having a stash. I like getting to look at it. But also, there's a lot of this that I've had for a really long time, and I think it deserves to be knit. And if it doesn't deserve to be knit by me, it deserves to be knit by someone else. And it can't do that if it's just sitting in my shelf and I don't even know that it exists. So that is the plan. We're going to get this stuff worked up. I think one of the next things I might want to do is like this is my stash. One of the next things I think I might want to do is like a whip tour and kind of talk about the works in progress that I do have and whether or not I'm keeping all of them. And really, once I get things stashed and start planning projects, like really talk about specifically some of the yarns and patterns that I have planned to cast on. I am another like motivator getting me through this stash. I'm doing the 2023 gram challenge with Rachel from Rachel is Knitting on Instagram. And it's literally just like not a whole lot of rules, just knit 2023 grams out of your stash this year. I don't know what my stats are at the current moment. I'll put them here because it is yesterday I started this video. It was April 1st. It is now April 2nd. I did not finish this yesterday. But I did tally up my March stats. So I'll put like a March only thing up here and then like a total to date in terms of grams that I've knit. I actually basically finished my cotton stash. I have one ball of cotton left. It's like 32 grams of cotton. That's it. That's all I have left. That one I'm going to save for when I need to put projects like sleeves on scrap yarn. I like using cotton because it holds my stitches well. Like I don't ever fear that it's going to slide anywhere. And I have barber's cords, which are like the little rubber like cords that you stick on the end of your needles and you slide everything onto them. I don't love them. I I know they're like more sustainable because they're reusable and all of those things. I just don't like how they feel. I don't like using them. I get frustrated by them. So for now, I mostly still keep using yarn. And so I'm going to save that last ball of cotton because it's not enough to really do anything with. And I can save it to like put sleeves and stuff on waste yarn, which will be good. So I have so many ends to weave in on so many dishcloths. It's a little ridiculous. That I'll probably show you guys those during like the whip tour video. Because there's so many. And they're still technically kind of a whip. Like I counted them towards my gram total. But they're still kind of a whip because I have all of those ends to weave in. So I can't do anything with them. I can't gift them. I can't use them myself until they're woven. So that's great. But yeah, so I hope, maybe this gives you a little bit of inspiration to go through your stash, log some stuff, whether it's Ravelry Stash or this new Knit and Note app. I mean, I guess it's not new. It's been around for a little while, but it's new to my life. Log some stuff, figure out what your stash looks like, figure out like what you want to use and what actually just like doesn't bring you joy anymore and doesn't inspire you. Because I think we should be able to find inspiration in our knitting and crocheting and our crafting in general. And if a thing doesn't inspire you anymore, like just let it go. Like this bag I bought, there was a craft store here called AC Moore a while ago, and it shut down like years ago. This receipt is from 2019, and I went in and I bought rings, and I bought, those ones you won't be able to see. Let me find one that you can actually see on here. I bought gems out the wazoo, like so many cute little markers, cute little gems. Those are flowers. They're hard to see. And I was like, I'm going to turn these in to progress keepers and stitch markers. Like, let's go. Every time I sit down and even think about doing it, it feels like pulling out my hair. Like, I'm not inspired to do it anymore. Like, I have all of this stuff that I now don't want to do anything with. And I'm getting to the point where I think I'm just going to like de-stash it. I'm going to find a friend who wants to make stitch markers or something. Because I have O-rings and I have like lobster claws. I don't have many lobster claws, but I have a couple. But I think I'm going to find a friend who wants to make cute little crystal like stitch markers or progress keepers. And I'm going to like get this to them somehow. Because at this point, like I have the sun came out. I have no like aspirations to do this anymore. And it doesn't inspire me and it doesn't spark my creativity. So like it's time to let it go. So it's not sitting in my bin, taking up space. And then I'm also not like, every time I open this bin, I don't see that and say, oh, I should make those things. Oh, I bought those things. I should do it. Our crafting shouldn't have to be that way, right? Like our creativity should be something that we can dive into, not something that we're like dragged into because we have to do it. So that's my message for today. Like, find inspiration in your crafting. Find that string of creativity and follow it and dive into it. If you feel like you're being pulled and pulled unwillingly or like drug into having to do something because I have the materials, I have to do it. Maybe that's not a craft for you. Maybe it's not a craft for you today. Maybe it's not a craft for you in this like season of life. Maybe it's not a craft for you, period. You don't have to do it. Just because you have the materials, just because you spent the money or spent the time, doesn't mean you have to do it if it's not fueling that creative fire. And if it's not fueling that creative fire, just let it go. Whether it's dropping your stuff off at Goodwill or sending it to a friend or de-stashing it online, just like let it go. There's so much stuff to be creative around. You don't have to force yourself to be creative around something that you don't really love. And I think it's scary to think about like, oh, I spent money and time and resources and whatever to like start this craft and now I don't like it or it's not bringing me joy. It's scary to just like abandon that, right? Because you spent resources, whatever that was, to start the thing. It's okay. Just like let it go. Just let it go and it will be gone. And then you're going to free up all of that creative space for all of these other things that you want to do and it will be good. So yeah, go through your stash. Find the stuff that you don't want to do anymore. Just let it go. Let it be free. And then you could do other stuff with your time and your energy. So I'm going to go spend the rest of my morning either winding up scraps or putting yarn in stash. I haven't quite decided. Step 1, cup of coffee. Thank you for hanging out with me today while we talked about stash and talked about scraps and talked about cleaning up our life a little bit. And I'll see you next time.